Good morning from WKYT News. I'm Bill Bryant, and we welcome you to Kentucky Newsmakers. Later, Richmond Mayor Robert Blythe will join us after his recent State of the City address pointed out the fast growth and development in the Madison County seat and some of the challenges that is bringing. But first, we get an update on higher education in Kentucky and a new effort to give college credit to people for their life, work, and military experience. The legislature also outlawed DEI programs. The Council on Postsecondary Education also given a charge by lawmakers to assess and approve new doctoral programs for universities. Could it be a green light for a College of Osteopathic Medicine to train primary care doctors at EKU? And how are our colleges and universities adjusting to attract more students to earn degrees or take part in lifelong learning? The president of the CPSE is with us today, Dr. Aaron Thompson. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
Bill, always good to see you. Thanks for the invitation.
Well, it's always good to see you. It caught our eye this week when it was announced that colleges and universities will be encouraged to award academic credit to Kentuckians based on the skills they have acquired in life, on the job, in the military, and so on. What might opening up that avenue mean?
Well, first of all, let me just say that when you think about knowledge, when you think about competencies, just to believe you're going to get all those sitting in the classroom is just a false assumption, right? I mean, many of us have done a lot of stuff in our lives, and we should be recognized for that, and we should be given credit for that. Why take a course when you have the knowledge already? So for us, this is about, in each of our colleges and universities already have a policy for credit for prior learning, but it's not been done as robust as we need to. And we still have about 600,000 adult learners that have some college, lots of experience, lots of knowledge, that we need to somehow translate that to academic credit. And that's what this is about, right? It's more than just seat time, it's the real time they put into it. This Heroes to Healers bill that you're talking about, we want to work with veterans. We want to work with these folks that are coming in, they have experience as a medic or whatever. Why not translate that into a path whereby they can get an LPN and then move on to an RN? Put them in that pathway, put them there. I mean, that level of experience, Bill, I couldn't give you all day long in a classroom or another clinical setting. So that's what this is about.
It seems to be a narrow pilot program for now, but you seem to be very open to this broadening.
Oh, not only am I open to it, we're promulgating it, we're pushing it. It's important. We even had an adult learner metric put in our performance funding model. What we have to really think about, and we've been built on this old seat time system for way too long, in my opinion. We still have that. We're not moving away from that. But how can we truly get more people that can get a job that matters more, one that pays more, and that one helps our economy more?
Is there some hesitation among those in the academic establishment who might feel that the only clear path to college credit should be very rigorous academic standards?
Well, I think our colleges and universities are way open to this, no doubt. But yes, there's a history here, right? The way we've done it for a long time is what you feel the most comfortable with. But clearly, there is an acceptance to the fact that we have to do some things differently. That doesn't mean we're taking away seat time for everybody, because that matters in many ways. There's a lot of competencies you get through theory, through process, and through clinical actions like we do with our nurses and many of our other healthcare professionals, no doubt. But if they had that knowledge already, why not recognize it and not make them sit through it again? So I think our campuses are really ready for this. Now, once again, I think this is going to be more than a pilot. This to me is starting the process that we're going to build on.
But does it make colleges seem more accessible to more
people? It
people?
Does. No, you're absolutely right, and that's a good way of putting it. It's not only more accessible, it also makes people feel like, hey, I'm not sure that with my age, background, if I belong in college. Now they can see this path that's saying that, in fact, not only do I belong in college, I can move on and do something else where maybe I do need seat time. But getting them there and building that process to help them to get what they need while they're there is exactly what we're talking about.
And just to say, here is some credit for what you have already done.
That's
in
right.
Life. Yeah. The legislature also outlawed diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts and offices for Kentucky colleges and universities. Can those schools still reach underserved populations with those offices gone and still maintain a welcoming environment for all?
Well, the answer is going to be yes, we have to. I mean, because it's necessary. We have people from all kinds of backgrounds. Whether you're low income, whether you're black or brown, whether you're someone who has English as first language, these are the folk that live in our community, that live in the state. And the idea that we need to meet them where they're at and help them to get where they need to go. But that's everybody across the board. It's not a zero-sum game. Our colleges and universities know that we're going to have to provide the wraparound services that are needed to help all of our students succeed. And those are some of the things we're putting in place, have had in place in a long time. Yes, this law, you can't have the offices again that represents many of these populations based on their backgrounds, but it also, though, the campuses know, and by the way, our largest enrollment increase has been with our underrepresented populations, right? That's the growing population even in the state. So recognize we have to do something there. But we also have to do a lot more for low income, and the way we use DEI, at least from a CPE viewpoint, low income was a part of that, right? People that need basic needs were a part of that. Folk that were coming in that necessarily needed the extra help was a part of that, even those with disabilities. So without a doubt, this law prohibits some things, but I think we'll be able still to serve every student that comes to us.
If student groups still organically appear on campus or want to have certain events that might mark occasions throughout a year, will that still be permitted?
Yes, and by the way, I mean, organically speaking, that's going to happen. You know that as well as I do. I mean, that's what fraternities and sororities do, largely, right? So the idea of saying that you can't feel like you can get critical mass based on a lot of folk who you see yourselves as being a part of, true. I mean, religious groups do it. You have the Baptist Student Union, right? So part of what we want to make sure is that all students still feel as if they belong on our campuses, that they have the right to get here, and we have the right to give them everything they need to make sure they get to the finish line.
What are you watching as far as changes coming from the federal level? Do you have concerns about the dismantling of the U.S. Department of Education as it relates to higher education and student loans, although I think that's being moved over to another area and is set to continue, right?
Yeah, first of all, I mean, right now it's a lot of confusion.
Sure.
Let me just say, right? I have worries that when you take money out of NIH and NSF, for an example, that are going to a research institution mainly, but a lot of folk that are working on cancer research and so on, that this is going to have a devastating effect on the way we can do that work. Also have concerns when you're dismantling, not that you're dismantling the Department of Education by itself, but the services that are provided, whether it's Pell Grants, whether it's student loans, whether it's the ability to make sure you get some of the dollars out to help those that may have learning difficulties and so on. How well is that going to work as we're going through the transition of dismantling? So what I'm worried about is that we have to, no matter what, serve those kids and those populations we served before, both in K-12 and in higher ed. So yes, I do worry about it. So it's not as much about whether it's going to be dismantled, but the process of dismantling and how long it takes and the people that you've let go in the process. I mean, someone has to still do those TRIO grants, those Gear Up grants, and so on. And they're telling us that they're still there, that won't be affected. But yes, right now it's a little bit confusing.
But some things will be moved to the state level, right? So as Washington dismantles, the state will have to put together some efforts to guide some of this funding, right?
Absolutely, you know, and they're saying they're going to be working with K-12 first, but you know, what happens if accreditation is no longer done at the regional level and they tell the states to do it? Well, we have to prepare ourselves to do that, right? We have to prepare ourselves to serve it. Now, do I believe that we can do a lot of things in the state better? I do. In many cases, you know, I don't know what exactly, but yes, probably. So how we do that and how we're funded to do that and how we're going to build that capacity from what's there now to that point then is the question that we have.
Legislature recently adjourned after giving the Council on Postsecondary Education a path to approve new doctoral programs at regional universities in particular. We all know that in this area, EKU wants to start a College of Osteopathic Medicine. They've had some feasibility studies that have indicated they're in a position to do that. What kind of process will now be required to approve a program like that?
Yeah, and first of all, I should say that CPE, we were built to do that anyway, right? In the case, though, what the legislature passed was that our comprehensive institutions could not expand beyond the current doctoral programs. They couldn't expand PhDs. They couldn't do some of the big professional programs like vet school or a DO school. And this legislation gives them that path to get there. However, the criteria is that to do that, you must be in the top quintile of SREB, Southern Regional Education Board's average amount of success, student success to get there. You had to be in the top quartile nationally to get there. So this path is there for them. So as of right now, Eastern is eligible to start that process. So is Murray.
Murray on the veterinary school.
On the veterinary school,
yeah.
And so right now, Western on a PhD, if that's the direction they decide to go. So, but it gives a path. We will still study that because they have the path to get there. That doesn't mean they don't have to go through a rigorous process. That's my job, that's my staff's job, to ensure that this process is in place.
Any feel for a time frame of something like that?
Well, first of all, when you think about the DO school, the vet school, you're still talking about several years to actually get something up and running. And if part of the law says if you have to go to the legislature and get money, you have to secure that first before you can move forward. So we're probably talking 2, 3, 4 years to get these to that point. A PhD, you can apply for it now. You know, I'm sure we'll have people or institutions applying for it as soon as you can, because that's a little bit different of a process. You're not required to get money from the legislature or anything else to do it, nor are you required to go through a bigger accreditation process like these professional schools.
How are we doing by the numbers in terms of Kentuckians getting degrees or credentials that might enhance their earning power?
Thank you for that question. Once again, I'm happy to say Kentucky's number 2 in the country in completions again. Our enrollment looks like we're going to be close to number 1 or number 2. We're significantly up. We're one of the first states to bounce back from COVID, but we're up significantly again. Our graduation rates are significantly up. Our retention rates are up. And Bill, our educational attainment is at 56.2%. toward that 60%. You remember when we started this conversation a long time ago, it didn't seem possible to many, but we're close. Kentucky, we're doing really well, and I'm proud of that. But we're not just talking about the quantity, we're working on the quality. We're putting these employability outcomes now in our general education. We're doing the things that employers as well as students can recognize that they're getting a degree or a credential that matters, that people recognize and they want to come to Kentucky and get our students to be a part of.
So your goal now is?
Our goal is still 60%, but we're going to be working with a new goal coming down the road, not fully willing to announce yet, but we're also needing to, I'll just give you a hint, we're needing to make sure that we're helping our students not only get a job that matters, that pays, but how to build wealth, how to actually build on this toward that next level. So as you all know, by 2030, 90% of the citizens of Kentucky will need to get a post-secondary credential to get promoted. 63% will need to get one to get a job. So our job is to make sure that those pay and that they have the kind of competencies that they can build on to have the wealth for their families in the future.
Dr. Aaron Thompson, always good to hear from you, and you let us know as soon as you can when that announcement's coming, right?
You got it, brother.
All right, thank you so much. Everybody stay with us. Richmond Mayor Robert Blythe will be with us in just a moment. Welcome back to Kentucky Newsmakers from WKYT. So good to have you with us. Richmond is one of Kentucky's fastest growing cities, a projected population quickly approaching 40,000 people. Recently, Mayor Robert Blythe delivered his State of the City address and talked about the growth of business, housing, and people who want to make Madison County and the Madison County seat their home. Richmond has a lot of money in the bank, including a contingency fund of over $23 million. EKU also announced last week it is now Kentucky's largest regional university. But with all that growth and opportunities, there of course are challenges. Traffic congestion is a frequent topic in town. Mayor Robert Blythe is joining us right now. Welcome. It's always good to see you.
And it's always likewise good to see you, Bill.
You did give a really upbeat assessment of Richmond in your State of the City address. You said more revenues coming in than you expected, and the city is spending less than anticipated. How is that happening?
Continual growth. For one thing, as we continue with our building, our construction, those taxable properties, and then we've been able to come in under budget on several of the projects that we're working on, capital projects. So it just happened that way, and this is not the first year that we've been able to celebrate that.
Now there was some one-time money that came in, right? That some of the COVID funds.
That's right, and what we spent considerably over the past many months was the ARPA funds. Of course, that came to an end December 31. We did make some commitments that was required by the program. Some commitments such as a fire truck, which could not be delivered in less than 18 months. So we had to commit those funds, nevertheless, before December 31.
Is there a secret sauce to Richmond's growth? You know, there have to be a lot of other cities that look and see, well, what's happening there? Because so many people are coming to town. Businesses are wanting to, I guess, follow the population growth.
Yes.
What are the factors at play?
Some of the things that I've been able to identify. One, housing still is reasonable. Now, of course, prices are increasing with us too. There are some rents that cause my eyes to blink twice. But in addition to the housing, there still are jobs in Richmond. Now we have booming always industrial parks. We have 3 of them. And but there's the university still. Of course, its news about being growing as it has grown in the past couple of years or so after COVID. I think a combination of those things. There are retail establishments that are opening. Just cut the ribbon on 2 weeks ago, and that's exciting for me. The people, I'm certain, don't come without doing some research, doing some homework, and then deciding to locate in Richmond. Additional banks in Richmond. I say all the time, a bank is not going to locate without knowing it's going to make some money. And a couple of the new banks, the newest, they want mortgage money. They're not looking so much for those demand deposit accounts. They're looking for some mortgage opportunities.
So as you say, the growth is somewhat powered by affordable housing, but Richmond allows a lot of residential growth, right?
Yes.
It looks like you have or will soon have 3,000 housing units under construction, single family and duplexes and otherwise.
And multi, yes indeed. If you just take a drive through Richmond, you think, wow, on the fringes, Richmond is moving out. There isn't a great deal of housing growth inside the downtown, so to speak, area. It's on the fringes. We've not done any annexations lately, but there was enough already existing zonage, I'll say, to allow folks to do some of these projects that they're doing now.
With that come the challenges, and traffic is one of those.
Yes,
and I'm certain that while people will talk to you about lots of positive things, that is one of the things that you do here as a conversation.
It really is. And I tell folks when I go to some meetings and I'm running 30 seconds late, and well, I would like to say because of traffic. It's actually because I left late. Right. But so I won't blame anybody else.
It's a good excuse.
It's a good excuse. So when I go into the meeting, I always start off with something humorous like, somebody needs to call the mayor about this traffic. Well, but it's a sign. There was a time, and I believe I mentioned this to you when I was last with you. There was a time when Friday afternoon was the time you didn't want to be on the bypass. Now it's every day, and the traffic is just, I think, an indicator. Folks hitting the Estill and Powell who come around Richmond to go there.
And yet, as we said, you approve these building projects.
Yes,
so
indeed.
What, is there a plan to try to, in some way, make those roads better, less congested?
Yes, indeed. Just this comment. Usually when someone comes to object to protest a proposed project, housing project, development, one of the major objections is the traffic, the anticipated traffic. Now, Transportation Cabinet and the City of Richmond have been working over the past 3-4 years on trying to alleviate some of the anticipated traffic. One of the areas where there's considerable growth, in fact, one of our new parks, our newest will be, but Goggins Lane and Barnes Mill, which comes off the ramps of the interstate.
The area of Richmond Center.
Yes, that's right, exit 87. Well, traffic there is horrendous, and not just certain times of day. But the Transportation Cabinet has been there and has already made a proposal. There is on the Secretary's desk in Frankfurt a project, I'll say it like that. The talk, but also now it's more than just talk, includes such things as roundabouts and a widening of an area that's really congested by an historic church. The White Oak Pond Church is right there on the corner across from Richmond Center, across from Myers. There isn't a lot of space in there, but that's one of the places where the cabinet is proposing a roundabout.
Yeah, because a lot of growth has happened around it.
Yes, indeed.
Tell us about the regional sports complex that you referenced. That will be on the end of Goggins Lane at Tate's Creek.
That's right,
yeah.
Goggins and Tate's Creek.
And you can see it from the interstate now.
Yes, indeed, which I think is one of the nice points about it. But it will be almost 300 acres. There's a 289-acre parcel that we purchased, and it'll include some of everything. Pickleball courts, 12 of those, in fact, in addition to the 6 that we opened up some months ago. There will be a football field. There will be an arena seating and another dog park, walking trails. There will actually be a memorial there that's now being developed for Kit Carson, an historic presentation type memorial. Yeah. So folks will know
explorer who was from there. Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly right. Baseball, soccer fields, and those pads have, I think the grading of those pads has now been completed in that first phase of that project.
And you continue to maintain Lake Reba, which is also a large municipal park.
That's right, and some of the items, I'll say, such as fields, etc., will move to Goggins.
There'll be some job losses with the closing of the chemical demilitarization plant. Can you make up for those?
We think we can. One of the ways, and one of the things we're trying to assist Bechtel Parsons, and they've been a tremendous corporate community citizen. They've been wonderful to work with. But we are working with them also, have been working with them for the past 3-4 years, anticipating what was coming. And in order to assist those, there's been a survey done of all those folks. Do you plan to retire at the end of the project? Do you plan to stay in Richmond? Do you live in Richmond now? Many live in Lexington and other places, Georgetown. So do you plan to live in Richmond? Do you have children in our schools? That kind of a very exhaustive survey, and it really was, to see what then we need to be working on in order to accommodate that situation that arises when that project is finally completed.
You know, some people may sit back and have their busy lives, and they know that city government is going on, and you have your meetings and so on. But you have openly invited people to become more involved in local government, including young people.
Oh, yes.
Why is that important?
And I love it. In fact, just last week, I had the chance to speak with 6 middle school classes who were doing a walkthrough of downtown, stopping in places to see what happens, and then stopping to the city commission chambers, and I got to speak with them. That's the joy of being mayor, or as one third grade child said, that's a mayoring. I get to do some mayoring, but I want them, Bill, and I'm glad you asked this, I want them not to see what I do or what our commission does or what any other elected official does as the connotative politics. I want them to understand that you can be an honorable public servant and elected official, elected by no, let me go back with my age, no shenanigans, but honestly elected by the people. I tell folks when each election I'm in ends, I tell them the people have spoken. And I want our young people, there are those, I invite them in to do things, you get me excited now, but I invite them in to lead the pledge in our commission meetings and kind of look around and see, gee, this is what they do. I just like to involve them in what we're doing. I have an intern there right now in the mayor's office and the city manager, young fella who's learning because he wants to be involved in government in some way in the days to come.
Mayor Blythe, I thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you so much for the invitation. Always, Bill.
All right, sir. Stay with us. We'll wrap up Kentucky Newsmakers in a moment. We do appreciate you being with us for this edition of WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers. Stay with us for the latest news and weather throughout the day, on air and on WKYT.com and on our WKYT News app. And you make it a good week ahead.